Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're taking a look here at Cyber. We're going to see what's going on here. We're going to take a look at some Elliott wave theory potential as well as some liquidity and see kind of roughly what that looks like. If history repeats itself, we might see a higher high here followed by a little bit of a higher low. I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. But first of all, thank you so much to my community member here. What is it? We'll just say Marsha. Marsha, thank you very much for requesting that I cover this. And future reference, if you're not part of our Discord, free community, of course, you can jump on over to requests and request that I cover certain coins. And I'll give you a shout out there, of course. Appreciate you jumping over there. Also, be sure to jump into our general chat. We got some awesome, cool things. And yeah, just a great community. So thanks again so much to everyone who's making that a better place. All right, so Cyber here. What are we going to look at here? Obviously, it's a fairly new coin, right? New ICO. I believe what was the date there, at least for Binance Exchange, we're looking at August 15th. So we got about 2 weeks of trading data. So we'll look at larger timeframes, of course, to identify certain trends, but in truth, there's not a lot of trends minus the most recent increase here. And we can see an obvious level here where the price action broke through that key level resistance and hasn't looked back, right? We retested that level and swung up pretty hard, okay? So what are we gonna do here? Let's identify a quick little pattern here that I see forming, and then we'll move on to the larger timeframes. So first things first, you want to recognize there's liquidity levels here. Okay, so previous liquidity, this is what happens in most cases. You get a large swing up, right? And there's liquidity at a higher level. So this liquidity up here is going to be a juicy target for the price action to come back to. Okay, it's common for the price to come up there. That's why you see cup and handle patterns, a lot of different patterns that form based on that sentiment, okay? Because that liquidity needs to get swept. Now that it got swept, comes up here to create a new liquidity level. What do you know? Price action comes back down to test the most recent low. Once it does so, it comes up to retest this liquidity, and we'll probably see a swing upwards and then another pullback as well. Okay, so again, it would make sense for the price action to increase to just say the 950 range before it pulls back a second time. But as an alternative here, just so you know as well, if that doesn't occur, Elliott wave has you covered. In other words, it is basically projecting out that we're seeing higher highs, right? We've hit our third higher high already. We've got basically a second higher low here and the two lower lows. So for lack of better terms here, there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pattern, which we've seen already happen. And then this ABC is establishing a lower low, lower high, and another potential lower low. Okay. Big surprise, that lower low right there at about 526, 530 is potentially an area in which the price action could pull back to. Okay, so again, I'm not saying it's going to, but if we do not establish a higher high here, for example, then we're going to probably see this continue to fruition. This will be nullified if the price continues higher, because that would essentially establish a new higher high, and that just changes things. Okay, so just want to kind of bring that to your attention here. One of two scenarios exist. We either test the 950 range and then come back down into this range that we're in right now presently, or we alternatively dip down somewhere in the range of 650, down as potentially as low as 530. Okay, we could very well see that. It just depends on this next high here. Can this next high be a higher high or a lower high? That's really what we're looking for. All right, so that's kind of the pattern that I try to pay attention to. So taking a look at the daily, not a ton of data here, of course. We got the RSI just kind of starting to come through here with an average of 14 days, right? We're basically on day 15 right now. So that being said, we can see right now that the RSI is peaking up over 70. Pretty standard rejection zone, so the probability of price continuing much further from here is lowish. But I want to emphasize the word low probability because of the fact that once you get over 70 on the RSI, you can typically continue for some time. So we want to recognize that we could very well continue further. On the 4-hour time frame, we can see we're retesting this level here. Once again, strong resistance at roughly 844. Unless we close above that here today or on the 4-hour, we're likely to see the price action pull back. Okay. Once again, I'm speculating we're going to see the 9 plus to 950 range just based on that liquidity sweep and the price shooting up to create an all-time high, or more so a most recent high if you exclude the very first day of trading. Keep in mind, this is not a good barometer for support and resistance, day number 1 ICO stuff, right? Okay, it's just one of those things. That being said, though, we are seeing we got 2 more hours in this candle. I think it's more likely than not the price will continue upwards, and we'll see a higher high be established before we see our lower high. Okay. All right, what else are we looking at here? We saw a bounce off of 70 in the RSI, pretty standard stuff there. Money flow index is still high. Stochastic is coming down, but it takes a while for that to aggregate. So for the most part right now, we can assume the price is going to stay where it's at. We got a strong convergence here on the MACD. Moving averages are well below the price action, so we don't have much of a trend there. But I can tell you the 20-day SMA is a common trend setter, so we could legitimately put this here and use it later and see how that starts to average itself out. Albeit not much telling. It's not really telling us too much right now. Later, it could be a good support. All right. Hourly, same thing happens here, right? The 20-day SMA on the 4 hours, fairly synonymous with the 20-day SMA and the 50 on the hourly. So what we can see here is that we have this trend still being established. We're still above the trend lines. There's no reason to short into this coin until we break below. And ultimately, we're seeing a lot of momentum too. So taking a look here at TD sequential, we're not overextending ourselves hardly at all, minus this one overextension here, that with that massive short squeeze with a ton of volume would push the price action higher there. Okay, so all in all, we're in a position right now where we're not seeing that kind of overextension, right? It's very healthy. Okay, up, over pattern, okay? So with us not seeing these massive nines or extreme overtime, leads me to believe that this next higher high will be higher, okay? So there's a really good chance that we're going to see that liquidity swing upwards here, past that level to somewhere in the 950 range. So I would say hypothetically right now, a short around 950 or 10 would make sense. Even though we're not there yet, it seems like a distinct probability the price will continue upwards because of that. Once again, just a liquidity sweep there, typical for the price action to shoot up. And what happens too, by the way, when it grabs this liquidity, it shoots up usually past that level and comes back to retest it because there's on average a short squeeze that's occurring. Because you got to recognize that most shorts are going to put their stop loss right at about 910, 920, and that causes the price to shoot higher. So just something to pay attention to and look for. Again, we're still a little premature in the overall sense of things here. What we can do though, however, is take a look at the 15-minute and just kind of summarize with a Fibonacci retracement levels and kind of see roughly where we're at. Okay, so if the price does pull back, we can kind of pay attention to this later. This isn't super important right now because these levels are, I think, null and void based on the amount of liquidity there that's going to get swept here soon. But generally speaking, that's where we're at. Okay, so we'll look at this again here later. We'll keep an eye on this coin here in the relative near future. Make sure we cover it, I would just say daily for the next few days, because I get this. This is not the first time we've gotten this request. And as they start to build up, both from YouTube, Discord, Twitter, Telegram, all those, I start to kind of make sure to pay attention. So this is on the map here for us for right now. And also future reference, you want to join us over on our Discord and our Telegram. Everything's down below, okay? So jump on over there. They're both free, good resources there for us, and a lot of fun to be had there too. So it's cool to be able to work with like-minded traders and have just such a cool community. We got over 1,000 Discord members and Telegram, and obviously our Twitter is a little bit lagging because we started that, 2 months ago, back in June. So in truth, we don't have a ton of followers yet, but trying to get that built up. Do us a favor, like, retweet, or repost now I think it's called on X, and help us out. Greatly appreciate it nonetheless. Hope you have a good rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.